It's time for SEC Pigskin Picks, live from Catfish County, featuring Coach Billy Jack Hoover, Shelley Sizemore, and me, Professor Thorndike Sinclair.
We were pitiful last week, Professor.
You're right, Coach. The SEC Pigskin Picks crew went 4-2, making us 48-9 for the season. It was our worst week this year. Vandy upset Missouri, and Arkansas beat Auburn. On the bright side, we went out on a limb on the two marquee games and correctly picked both South Carolina over Georgia and Florida over LSU. That will give you something to laugh about, huh, Coach?
Laugh? I don't laugh. You know the last time I laughed?
No.
September 27, 1971. The last Green Acres show. I used to love that show, Professor. I loved the way Lisa said, Oliver, Oliver, in that funny accent. Mr. Haney, Eb, Alf, and Ralph, that was funny stuff. And you know that funny little pig, Arnold Ziffel? He always had more sense than any of the people on the show. And speaking of hogs, let's talk about Arkansas. You know what you call that, Professor?
A segue?
Don't try to start talking French or Italian or something.
No, a segue is an element of speech used to change from one subject to another.
I ain't one of your students, Professor. Try to keep your mind on football. Now, Arkansas had 5 takeaways and 8 sacks against Auburn Saturday. They'll use that momentum at home to beat Kentucky. Let's, segue into some more games, Professor.
Good job, Coach. Alabama visits Missouri. The Tide rolls into Columbia after an off week and ranked number 1, while Missouri struggled in a loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I wonder if Missouri has had enough old man football yet. Their baptism is going to continue in a big way Saturday when the old men from Tuscaloosa come to town. Talk about Ole Miss and Auburn, Professor.
3-3 Ole Miss was en route to a victory over Texas A&M last week, but the Aggies rallied to win. Still, it was anybody's game until A&M intercepted Rebel quarterback Bo Wallace to seal the victory. The Rebels know how to play, and they will beat Auburn, who is now officially the worst team in the West after losing to Arkansas. In Nashville, Florida plays Vanderbilt.
Will Muschamp and the Gators are undefeated. Their defense swarms the ball as good as anybody's does. They made LSU's offense look terrible last week. Now, Vandy will be sky high after the Missouri win, and they'll keep it close for a while, but you got to play for 60 minutes, and Vandy just can't do it against the Gators. All right, Professor, get out your Cohen, because Tennessee and Mississippi State is a toss-up.
Tennessee also had an off week to regroup after losing to Georgia in Athens. The Vols are healthy, and people in the know realize this is a game that will help determine whether Derek Dooley stays around for another season. Tyler Bray has to come through in the clutch for the Vols to win. But lots of eyes will be on the other Tyler. Tyler Wilson, that is, of Mississippi State. He threw for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns against Kentucky last week. The Bulldogs are 5-0 for the first time in 13 years. They believe they can challenge Alabama in the West. It's hard to deny a 5-0 team at home against a rebuilding Vol squad, Coach. Mississippi State will win it.
Good enough, Professor. Now dial up Miss Shelley Sizemore, who's in Baton Rouge for this week's Slobber Knocker Game of the Week, LSU versus South Carolina. Hey everybody, this is Coach Billy Jack Hoover. People ask me every day, where's the Beaver Dam Roadside Tavern? Well, I can't tell you just yet, but our website will be up as soon as we can get those little hamsters back running on them wheels again. I guess that's how it works. Now back to the show. Alright, slackers, we're back with week 7 of SEC Pigskin Picks, live from the Beaver Dam Roadside Tavern. We're joined now by Miss Shelley Sizemore, who's in Baton Rouge for this week's Slobber Knocker Game of the Week, LSU and South Carolina. What are you doing, Shelley?
Crawling around on the floor.
Uh-oh, where?
Under the table.
Table?
At the restaurant. I sat down and all of a sudden, pow, one of my contact lenses just popped out. I know it's here somewhere.
And people aren't looking at you funny?
No, Les went up to the bar to create a diversion.
Les? Les Miles?
Of course, Les Miles. He came out and sat down at the table right next to me after I lost my contact lens. I couldn't really see him. I can't see a dang thing. But he said, "My name's Les. Let's have a couple more." Well, who else could be named Les in Baton Rouge? Oh, Coach, here comes the waiter. I've got to order. Okay, let me start with the partisan brown green soup. I said partisan brown green soup. Well, right here in black and white on the menu. Oh, well, Parmesan broccoli cheese soup. Isn't that what I said? See, I lost my contact lens and, well, just bring it on.
All right, Shelly, we'll find out if you read your lines or if you really know football.
Yes, we will. Well, both teams had huge games last week. LSU lost on the road to Florida, and South Carolina blew out Georgia. LSU's offense couldn't get anything going against Florida. Tiger quarterback Zach Mettenberger's offense just couldn't get in the end zone against the Florida defense. Plus, the Tigers had to set up a triage unit on the sideline to treat all the injuries. Meanwhile, South Carolina's quarterback Connor Shaw threw for 2 TDs, and Ace Sanders returned a punt for 70 yards. LSU's wounded. South Carolina's ranked number 3 and flying high. Spurrier goes on the road and wins.
I agree, Shelly, but are you going to say that in front
Found
of...
it! Oh, found it! Just a minute, Coach. Let me put my contact lens back in. Hey, you're not Les Miles. Get out of here. Get out of here, you weirdo.
Enjoy your trip, Shelly, and so long from the Beaver Dam Roadside Tavern. For Professor Thorndike Sinclair, This is Coach Billy Jack Hoover. Now remember to follow me on Twitter at Coach Billy J, and follow Shelly at Shelly Sizemore. Now give me 20 slackers.
Waiter, come back here. I can't eat this. I don't care what I said. Waiter!